The descent began like every other. Monitors hummed softly in the control chamber, bathing the cramped interior in a glow of pale blues and sickly greens. Outside the reinforced viewport, the ocean darkened inch by inch as the survey vessel Argo slipped beneath the last traces of sunlight. I sat at the rear console, fingers resting lightly on pressure gauges and structural readouts. 3 years with the Oceanographic Institute had taught me that the deep ocean was unforgiving, but predictable. Temperature dropped, pressure climbed, systems adjusted. Every dive followed the same quiet rhythm. That day, the rhythm broke. We were heading for a trench no manned sub had ever mapped completely, a narrow valley branching off the Mariana Trench itself. Satellite imaging had shown formations too symmetrical to be natural, and cavities far deeper than surrounding terrain. Officially, this was a geological survey. Unofficially, everyone aboard knew something else had drawn us here. For months, unmanned drones sent into the valley had vanished without explanation. Signals cut abruptly. Cameras went dark. One drone had surfaced days later with its titanium hull crushed inward, not shattered, compressed, as if something had wrapped around it and squeezed. No one said the word creature, but everyone thought it. At 5,000 meters, sound changed. Not silence. The ocean never truly goes silent, but the distant groan of tectonic movement and current vanished, replaced by a hollow stillness that pressed against the hull. The pilot, Ramirez, adjusted our descent rate with slow, careful movements. "Pressure stable," he said. "Hull holding." Dr. Voss leaned closer to the forward viewport. We should be seeing particulate flow by now. But the water outside was unnaturally clear. No drifting sediment, no glowing plankton, just an endless, empty black. So complete, it felt less like darkness and more like the absence of space itself. At 7,000 meters, the first anomaly appeared. A faint reflection glimmered in the distance, far beyond our lights. At first, I assumed it was a sensor artifact, a lens flare or a glitch in the external cameras. But the reflection moved, slowly sliding across the edge of our illumination. Ramirez frowned. "That shouldn't be there." Voss tapped her tablet, pulling up sonar imaging. No contact on sonar, nothing solid in range. Yet outside the viewport, the reflection lingered, pulsing faintly like a distant star. Then it vanished. No one spoke. We continued downward. At 8,000 meters, the trench walls rose around us like cathedral spires, jagged ridges climbing out of the darkness. Our lights barely touched their surfaces, revealing pale stone, scarred with deep grooves that ran in long, parallel lines. They didn't look like erosion, they looked like claw marks. Voss's voice dropped to a whisper. "Those formations, they're recent." "How recent?" I asked. She hesitated. "Weeks, maybe months." Something had been moving here. As we reached the valley floor, the seafloor opened into a vast basin, wider than any scans had suggested. At its center lay a structure, not rock, not coral, metal. A massive curved surface rose from the sediment, half buried, its edges disappearing into darkness. It looked like the broken hull of a ship, but impossibly large, hundreds of meters across, smooth and seamless. No seams, no rivets, no markings, just a silent, ancient shape, resting where no human craft had ever been recorded. "This isn't in any database," Voss whispered. Before anyone could respond, the lights flickered. Once, twice, then steadied. I checked the power readouts. All systems normal. "Probably a surge," Ramirez said, though his voice lacked conviction. We drifted closer. As our lights swept across the metal surface, something moved. At first, I thought it was sediment sliding off the structure, but then I saw it clearly. A slow, deliberate ripple passing beneath the metal skin, as if something enormous shifted inside. A deep vibration passed through the hull. Not an impact, a pulse, like a heartbeat. Did that thing just move? Someone whispered. Before Voss could answer, every monitor in the cabin went dark. For half a second, we were blind. Then the emergency lights flared on, bathing the chamber in harsh red. Main power fluctuation, I said, heart hammering as systems rebooted. External cameras offline. Sonar is... Wait. The sonar display bloomed back to life, and my breath caught. The basin was no longer empty. Dozens of massive shapes surrounded us. They didn't appear suddenly. They had always been there, perfectly still, blended into the trench walls and seafloor like living statues. Elongated forms, coiled and layered, their outlines barely distinguishable from the rock, until they moved. Slow, synchronized shifts rippled through them, each motion deliberate and silent. Voss stared at the screen, face drained of color. Those aren't geological formations. One of the shapes uncoiled, its body unfurled like a living ribbon, easily longer than our vessel. Fins or limbs extended from its sides, jointed in impossible ways. Along its length ran faint lines of pale light that pulsed in slow rhythm. Eyes opened along its flank, dozens of them, all turning toward us. The first impact came without warning. The Argo lurched violently, alarms shrieking as we were thrown against our harnesses. Something massive brushed the hull, not striking, but testing, sliding along our side with unsettling gentleness. "Thrusters full reverse," Ramirez shouted. The engines roared, but we barely moved. Another pulse passed through the metal structure beneath us, stronger this time, and the creatures responded instantly. They began to circle, not hunting, containing. One of them drifted directly in front of the viewport. Its head emerged from the darkness, vast and flattened, with a mouth that split open in layers, revealing rows of translucent, needle-thin teeth. Inside its throat glowed the same pale light that traced its body, and then it spoke, not in sound, in pressure. A crushing weight filled my skull, forcing me to gasp as a voice formed directly inside my thoughts. Too loud. Blood trickled from my nose. Too bright. Voss screamed, clutching her head. Ramirez slumped forward, eyes glassy. The creature tilted its head, studying us. Surface things, breaking the sleep. The metal structure beneath us shuddered. The basin began to rise. Sediment cascaded as the massive shape lifted itself from the seafloor, unfolding into something that dwarfed even the creatures surrounding it. Limbs emerged, each thicker than our vessel, ending in jointed appendages lined with glowing nodes. It wasn't a structure, it was an organism, ancient, colossal, and very much alive. "You will not leave," the voice pressed into my mind. I felt the hull compress as invisible force wrapped around us, crushing gently but relentlessly. Alarms blared. Structural integrity dropped in terrifying increments. In desperation, I triggered the emergency ballast release. With a thunderous crack, the sub lurched upward, tearing free from the crushing grip as compressed air blasted us toward the surface. The creatures recoiled, disturbed by the sudden violence, and for one miraculous moment, the trench opened above us. We rose in uncontrolled ascent, systems failing one by one, darkness swallowing everything behind us. The last thing I saw before the cameras died was the basin settling again, the creatures returning to stillness, the enormous being folding itself back into the trench, and a single eye, the size of a house, slowly closing. They recovered the Argo 3 hours later. Only 2 of us survived. Voss and Ramirez were pronounced dead from cerebral hemorrhaging, though no external injuries were found. The official report cited pressure-induced system failure and hallucinations caused by nitrogen narcosis. The metal structure was reclassified as a natural formation. The trench was sealed off. No further dives were authorized. But sometimes, when I close my eyes, I still feel that pressure inside my skull. And I know Deep beneath the calm surface of the Pacific, something ancient has woken up, and it remembers us.